A little bit of a culture change coming from Army to Miami?
Absolutely. I think there's a cultural change at any program that you would look at, but certainly when you look at service academies, I think there's a bigger gap. But I'll tell you what, there's more familiarity than anything, and that's been probably the most exciting and welcoming thing between the structure, the discipline, and really the people. The people from the top all the way through the players, everybody in the building, the energy, and just how people carry out their work. Professionals, task-focused, purpose-driven, and it's contagious. So it's been a really, really welcoming change, and excited to be here.
And obviously, your whole career was at Army, coaching and playing. I guess what made you decide it was time to maybe try something new, and how tough was that for you?
Yeah, so I think as professionals, you're used to finding yourself in different places at different times. And, yes, all of my time was spent at Army, but when you look at the breadth of experiences at West Point through service, and certainly at West Point, it just became time. You enter a place as a player, you move on to a GA role, you serve, you come back, you're in personnel, not really in football yet, and then you graduate into position work, right? Running backs, fullbacks, into offensive line, and then was afforded the opportunity to take a pretty serious leadership role there. And then you try to look at the landscape and the horizons of what could be next. And you look at Miami, and I would argue that nobody's doing it at a higher level right now. You look at a leader like Coach Cristobal, who's coaching at his alma mater, and to me that was intriguing. And you come down here and you can feel it. You can feel that the frontier of college football lives here. And that's hard not to say yes to. It's hard not to be attracted to. So I would make the argument just the leaving part wasn't so hard, but it was the excitement of what's next and what you can accomplish.
With your service, can you speak to just how much that impacted your life, and also just how it impacts maybe the way that you approach coaching?
Yeah, I think service is leading. It's servant-minded business, but it's technical skill acquisition and implementation. And really the parallels to football and being an officer and coaching and being an elite teacher are all pretty similar. And I found that just to be true through my time at Army, and certainly here. It's learning a new system, it's cultural, it's the silver accord amongst all of us, and how to connect people and emotionally drive them and move them. So I think there's a lot of really good things to pull from there, but I would argue that every really, really good coach would make a really, really good officer, and vice versa. So I found that just to be true through my time as a coach, and certainly as an officer.
One more question on the service thing. You certainly had an impressive life. Can you talk at all about the time in Afghanistan, what you did there, how much time you spent there?
Certainly. So my time in Afghanistan was the summer of 2010 to the summer of 2011, and I served as a rifle platoon leader in the 4th Infantry Division in the Arghandab River Valley, in Kandahar Province. So if you know the history of Afghanistan, that's really the birthplace of where the Taliban was. And during that time in our nation, during the global war on terror, the surge was going on. So we were sending a lot of soldiers over there, and I was in a Taliban stronghold. And for me, it was the most honorable year of my life to serve with America's best, to take care of people who can't necessarily protect themselves. Was a great responsibility, and that's really where I felt everything in my life, whether it was through academics, classical academic settings, military vignettes, and certainly sport, which I think is the ultimate proving ground for leadership regardless of the industry. It all came to fruition. And as a 23, 24-year-old, life gets real really fast, and you realize the importance of preparation. You realize the importance of decision-making, emotional control, leadership. All those things come to life every single moment, every day. And for me, it was the most honorable year of my life. And I still have very serious connections with the men and women, my brothers and sisters in arms who I served with. And that's something that I try to carry into a room, and I try to carry with me, because those experiences aren't mine. Those experiences are lessons for another day, on other fields, on other days. And to me, that's always going to be a part of me, and it's important to carry through and reflect back, because it means something different, I think, in different eras of your life. So I'm happy to bring that up, that you brought that up, and I appreciate sharing a little bit about that.
Why were you so passionate about it? Why did it give you that level of fulfillment?
I think when you commit yourself to something, you become more invested and it matters more. So when you commit yourself to 4 years of academic, military leadership training, and this is always on the horizon, it's like practicing all off season, and then finally the season's there and the games are there. And I think anybody, football, there's an unbelievable stat out there that football is, only 0.07% of the time you're actually playing the game when you say snap to whistle. So you're looking at about an hour to 72 minutes, depending on the length of your season, that you get to actually do it. I would argue that combat to preparation to training is not too dissimilar. So you really fall in love with the process and the preparation. And that to me was hey, you get to put it to action. So for me, there's passion there. I think there's passion for the human beings, right? People are our greatest resources. And when you invest in people, it matters a lot to you. It matters a great deal to you. And when you feel a higher calling and a will to serve others, I think those 3 prongs really bring life out.
Coaching a new position group and within a new offense, I would assume too, for you.
Sure.
How's that transition been so far?
Yeah, so we'll start with the offense first. So I grew up, Bobby Ross was my college coach, so I learned the West Coast offense as a player. So it's not my first time learning a new system. I wasn't a triple option guy. We learned the old school Paul Johnson triple option, and then we changed the offense during my time at Army. And then you go positionally. So I was more of a H-back, fullback, ace-back as a player, and then coaching in different realms. So fullbacks and running backs really at Army, from a triple option into more of a conventional modern day spread triple, zone option triple, and then into offensive line. And working with the offensive line, you work very closely with the tight ends, very closely. I mean, those guys were with me basically half of the practice. So you look at elite coaches, and I always, you find yourself, some of the best coaches didn't even play football. And you learn from them, and you learn that it is mastering a skill. It's the art of coaching, but it's your technical responsibility is the scheme and the technique and the fundamentals. So for me, it's those lessons learned, those experiences had, are just to me the next step, right? So certainly there's value having lived behind the face mask and playing a play that I think gives some surface level connection to a play. But there's so much more that goes into coaching, that it's not just the best players or the best coaches, or you had to have played this position. Mike Leach didn't even play football and invented an entire system, right? You have guys coaching different positions. You see guys all the time coaching on the other side of the ball. So for me, this is almost back to my roots a little bit more, from a pro style system, and certainly the experience having played other positions, coached other positions, more familiar for me than some of the changes I've had maybe in my past.
You're about 2 weeks into spring ball. You're just your initial impressions of the tight end group you're working with, and maybe anyone who has stood out to you so far, that maybe just off paper coming in, you're like,
yeah,
we're maybe weren't expecting.
I love to know a little bit about it, but I want to take my own assessment. Blank canvases. I love the ceiling of the room. I love the development side of it. To me, that's where I feel I'm talented, but I look at the guys, they're just as hungry for that. And I look at the room, we have maybe the most room to grow on the entire team. And I'm excited about that. I look at some of the young guys and the youth there that we're starting, some of those young guys, we're starting this journey together. And then other guys where I can bring a new skill set into their toolbox, maybe a different way to attack plays, maybe different things from a blocking scheme standpoint, perimeter standpoint, and mesh that really well with the coaching staff. So I think, the obvious names that you've known from the past, you look at Lofton and Luka, those guys are standing out and really charging them with leadership. And I think that's forcing competition for them to set the standard. And I'm seeing that change and getting them on the right page. And then I look at our 2 young guys. You look at Izzy, and you look at Gavin. You know what I mean? Those guys have come in and everybody's new to you. I'm shocked to hear you're a freshman, you're not a junior. So it speaks to the maturity, and it speaks to the guys that we want to recruit here at Miami. Great people make great players, right? They're professionals. Just look, 2 of the guys are still just working here, getting extra balls. You can't catch them doing something wrong. They're always looking to do the next right thing, and that's one thing that I've been impressed with, their professionalism and their drive.
With Lofton, he came in as a freshman kind of helped as a Swiss Army knife, became a natural tight end last year when Elijah Arroyo went to the NFL. Watching tape of him, what skills stand out to you, and do you think it can become the complete tight end in this offense?
You can line him up all over the field. You know, in the vertical passing game, he's a threat. Safeties, nickels are afraid that he's going to run by him. So there's that threat to stretch the field, which opens it up. And we've got a lot of really good weapons around him that's going to show up. When you move him in line, I am, in my belief, the best offensive line coach in the country, and another offensive line coach who's also the best offensive line coach in the country. So for me, that connective tissue is so exciting because I know how those pieces fit really well. And I'm seeing him like he's looking at me like, teach me. And I love that about him. He's going to lead us. He's going to grow. He's going to develop, and he has just as much room as the others. And I'd argue he's looking at this spring as if he's a freshman all over again. You know what I mean? And that's important. And I'm excited about him. He's been a great leader. He's obviously a tremendously talented player, and I can't wait to continue to work with him.
Do you have a feel for what's held him back? For what's held him back? You know,
I don't have any opinion on that. It's hard to speak to the past without knowing anything like that. So I really don't. I can't speak intelligently on that or give any detail. I'm sorry.